Hello, adventurer. It's good to see you. You have made it to the morning grind.
Welcome, welcome.
It's the live stream at the beginning of the Geekverse, where we talk about all types of topics in geekdom, gaming, and fantasy, with an emphasis on being constructive and creating the things that we want to exist in the world.
It's all on the grind, Sizemore. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
That's exactly right. There are a lot of adventures to be had today. Dungeons to explore and monsters to slay, and who knows what a random encounter might send our way. That's why we have to prepare, so settle in now for the morning grind with your favorite beverage in hand.
Tea? Or maybe something a little stronger. I've got a few bottles of the old Wynyard left.
Whatever you want. Pull up a chair.
Dude.
If you're feeling fancy, how about a cappuccino? Or a frappuccino? Or how about an espresso?
Just tea, thank you.
Sounds good to me, Gandalf. Whatever you want. I'm just glad you're here.
Everyone is welcome. You can just watch if you want. You don't have to worship anything you don't want to worship.
Thank you, Mike. But be forewarned.
Sometimes we get really strange characters around here.
Wait, what's that you say? Why can't you come and be a part of the stream?
My wife would disown me.
Oh no, I bet she'll be fine with it. Come on in.
Am I scared for my safety? No.
What are we supposed to do?
Everybody do the secret handshake.
Secret cultist handshake.
Oh, now do wizards who love each other.
This, my friend, is a science.
I still don't have kids, but it's fine.
It's all on the grind, son. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
Dude, this would be a sick place to bring the band.
Indeed it would be, Dave. It really would. I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome. Glad to have you here. Oh, look, here's someone new.
Is this the cultist meetup?
Yes it is.
Come to hang out? Please accept me. I have nothing else.
Okay, we accept you. Everyone's welcome here.
Brought some snacks.
Well, that makes things even better.
You want some coffee? I don't drink coffee. You sure?
It's cultist coffee.
What makes it cultist coffee? I'm a cultist and I'm drinking it. Oh. Then I'll have some.
What exactly is going on here?
I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome. It's so great to have you. Oh, and look, here comes another stranger.
Can we help you?
Yes, fellow cultists. I could really use some food.
Oh yeah? Welcome. We have donuts.
Oh, it's me. I'm glad I'm here. I'm sure you have a few questions for me, though.
What's your name? Who do you work for? What god do you worship?
Great questions, Rob.
I'm Steve King, and I worship Nyarlathotep.
No, not really. I'm just Heath, and I won't be worshiping anything this morning. But I will be your host. Welcome to the office. We're going to have a great time. I've got my coffee ready, because now it's time for the morning grind.
If you could become a fish, that would be amazing. Then I could command you with my mental fish powers.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to my home. Welcome to my office. Welcome to the morning grind. It is so good to see you this morning. I hope you are doing well. I'm Heath. I'll be your host today. It's almost Thanksgiving. I've got a ton of stuff to do, as always, and now I got a ton of stuff to do for Thanksgiving. There'll be no morning grinds tomorrow on Thanksgiving. I've got lunch with my family tomorrow, and I've got a bit of a drive in order to get there, and we got to be there about 11 o'clock in the morning anyway, so we're getting together about 11. I got about an hour and a half or 2 hour drive or something, so there'll be no morning grind tomorrow, so I hope everybody is going to be celebrating and having a great time with their family tomorrow and having a great time. Tomorrow night, I may air one of the Table Talk episodes. So tomorrow night, I'll make that call this afternoon, but that may be happening on Thanksgiving. Not a live Thursday Table Talk, but might re-air one of the episodes that I've been trying to move from this channel over to the Table Talk channel. So that might happen. So trying to get Kickstarters ready, trying to get, other things happening. Brianna and I are working this afternoon then also trying to I gotta go grocery shopping for stuff to bring to the lunch tomorrow. So all of a sudden, lots of things going on. Let's see who all is here. Hope you're having a great time. See, Zero the Blade is here. Good morning. So, Zero the Blade says, "Good morning, everyone. Hope everyone is preparing for tomorrow's feast." Yeah. Good morning, Stray. Good morning, Stray. And PH. Good morning. Sable Phoenix is here, and Tomocrat. PH says, "I just saw a video by Wes Ross called 'Sam is Back, Board is Fired.' What a mess. There are investigations by the FTC, coup by an EA member on the Open AI board, investors suing, waiting for the movie." Yeah, now I can't even keep up with it all. Now I can't even be able to keep up with it all. Because I think, was that last night or was that this morning? Was it this morning briefly when I said, no, maybe he's not, maybe Sam Altman's not going to Microsoft after all. Or I was like, oh my God. That was a wild ride for 48 hours. And then, okay, wrap things up after 72. I just can't keep going with it. I don't even know. It's so much back and forth. I don't even know. Good morning, James. Good morning. Good morning, Robert. Robert says, well, you must be exhausted. Well, I'm actually feeling okay at the moment. I went to sleep right after last night's table talk, and I did get 8 hours of sleep, so that was good. Let's see. Heath, what's the film in that intro where the guy says, "It's all in the grind, son. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse"? That's Black Hawk Down. That's Black Hawk Down. We did a table talk on Black Hawk Down. One of my favorite movies. Yeah, and it's SARN, right? It's an abbreviation for sergeant. It's all on the grind, sergeant. Or SARN. All right, so let's see. So first of all, yesterday, yes, over on the Table Talk channel, we got more subscribers over there. Hey, if you're hanging out over here, Table Talk. On the dedicated Table Talk channel, I'm going to put a link over here. We're trying to get to 500 subscribers over there. That way we can actually take super chats on the Table Talk channel. We also need like another 1,700 views, 1,700 viewer hours over there. But hey, we jumped up to 450 subscribers. We got, how many subscribers did we get yesterday? It was quite a jump. Well, it was about 8. Okay, about 18. About 18 subscribers came in yesterday. So that was fantastic. So we jumped up about 18 subscribers yesterday. And then over here, last night, our conversation was on the anatomy of horror, where we were focusing on John Truby's general philosophical understanding of genre that he articulated in the first chapter of his book, The Anatomy of Genres. And then we went into horror, the detail on his chapter on horror. And he actually, according to his philosophy, he ranks different genres according to kind of a Maslow's hierarchy of needs kind of idea, going from most primitive and basic levels of needs up through higher order needs. Now, whether or not he's right or not, I mean, we discussed all that, but that's kind of what he was presenting. And so he put horror at the most basic, and which means foundational, most foundational level of storytelling. So we talked about horror. I think that was the longest live stream Brianna's ever been on. That was a 5-hour live stream yesterday for Anatomy of Genre. So if you want to check that out, I highly recommend that conversation. It was actually one of my favorite conversations. It was a highly intellectual conversation with Brianna and Doug. So there we go. The Anatomy of Horror. That's over there on the Table Talk channel. I also did put together what I thought were some of the best of the Table Talk clips that I have been able to make and publish so far. Of course, this is just my opinion. But the Jamie Stegmaier talking about having built a $25 million a year company, $25 million worth of revenue a year through crowdfunding, and could he do it again? Talking with Cameron about Christian, Jewish, and Muslim faith, mythology, and fantasy fiction, the relationship between Islam and things like Dungeons and Dragons. We did talk about some of the things about Disney and fan fiction with Cameron. We've got one of the clips with Retro Nerd Girl up there where Doug was talking about the theories of sequel erasure and then world building and the Inquisitors that Doug and I talked about. So I'm gonna let me know what you think. And then what the Barbie was supposed to be. I wanted this to be like 8 to 12 clips Now, we might get some other clips out of these later. I mean, I'm working on getting a system where we can do more clipping. But I don't know. So let me know what you think of the best, like 8 to 12 clips that we've got from Table Talk. And if there's some kind of, especially as they appear, we've got more clipping to do, and there are more clips to release too. James says last night's discussion was fantastic. It definitely was in the genre of our graduate level seminar on story. The Cultists also doing well over here. Gained additional subscribers over there. I've got to release another Brianna commentary, and then we'll see how many. See if we can get some people in here enjoying the Cultists. I want to do a lot more with the Cultists over the next 3 months. So the Cultists is coming up strong. That's the Lovecraftian, Lovecraftian comedy mockumentary. And if you like hearing Brianna talk on the Table Talk channel, you can hear exactly her commentary on making a show on the Cultist channel, and my commentary as well about those shows if you are interested. I put a link. If you're a part of the Ravenkeep Discord server, so let me post a link to the Discord server. If you're part of the Discord server, check the Theophany. Check the Theophany channel, because there's a preview of the Trial of St. Gabriel there now for you. So if you're there in the Discord server, go down to the Theophany channel. You can get a preview of my short story. It's just a short story. You're not trying to read a whole novel here. It's just a short story. My short story, The Trial of St. Gabriel, the dark story of the Bethlehem Christmas Massacre, the Christmas Massacre at Bethlehem. That's Herod's soldiers who killed the Massacre of the Innocents, all of the boys 2 years old and younger, in an attempt to kill Christ. Which is not something we often talk about at Christmas, but maybe we should. So I'm going to bring out the rest of the short story soon. But if you want a preview of it, it is in Discord right now. So please do go check that out. And I believe, did I also put a link? I should have also put a link to the... well, I guess I didn't. Okay, so I'll also post a link to the Kickstarter video, because I played the Kickstarter video here. In fact, I should just do that right now, because I did post that over on the Theophany YouTube channel. I'm having a problem. I've run into a couple of different problems with everything going on with that, because the Theophany YouTube channel isn't verified, which means like I can't post a thumbnail image. I can't use it for promotion. I can't post a link. I mean, there's all kinds of things I can't do on the Theophany YouTube channel yet. So that was another thing to get around. But right here, the trailer right here. Let me post a link to the trailer. I'll post it in Discord right now. Here is the trailer for the Trial of St. Gabriel. And hey, I might as well just post this right here as well in the comments. If you want to see the trailer, this is the one that I made while I was trying to get the AI, trying to learn AI filmmaking technology. It's my first stab at it. Wait, if you check news for the grind, you'll see Paizo is talking about the OGL and D&D divestiture. Oh, okay. Wait a minute. Yeah, I did not get to check news for the grind this morning. Robert says, and on the ORC and OGL fallout at Paizo, it's now very clear that the license design was a part of a plan to move completely away from Wizards SRD. Okay, we'll bring that up. Okay, we'll see what's being said here. Now, but we knew that was going to happen. We knew that was going to happen. I mean, we knew that Pathfinder had stripped out every last trace of D&D from its new rule books. It's been saying for a while that it was being very deliberate about that it did not want anything OGL in its books anymore with regard to Pathfinder 2. So that was part of the revised everything, but they weren't expecting other people to do that. But they were going to go through and make sure there was no OGL material in the Pathfinder books, so that it was just a clean orc. Okay, let's do our sacraments this morning before we look at that. All right, The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield. Everybody got your drink this morning? I do, right here. Here's the drink. 2 deep breaths, deep inhales, complete exhales, and then take a sip of your favorite beverage. So here we go. Everybody together. And sip. Okay. So the artist and the territory. The act of creation is by definition territorial. As the mother-to-be bears her child within her, so the artist or innovator contains her new life. No one can help her give birth, but neither does she need any help. The mother and the artist are watched over by heaven. Nature's wisdom knows it's time for the life within to switch from gills to lungs. It knows down to the nanosecond when the first tiny fingernails may appear. When the artist acts hierarchically, she short-circuits the muse. She insults her and pisses her off. The artist and the mother are vehicles, not originators. They don't create the new life. The artist and the mother are vehicles, not originators. They don't create the new life. They only bear it. This is why birth is such a humbling experience. The new mom weeps in awe at the little miracle in her arms. She knows it came out of her, but not from her. Through her, but not of her. When the artist works territorially, she reveres heaven. She aligns herself with the mysterious forces that power the universe and that seek through her to bring forth new life. By doing her work for its own sake, she sets herself at the service of those forces. Remember, as an artist, we don't know diddly. We're winging it every day. For us to try to second guess our muse the way a hack second guesses, for us to try to second guess our muse the way a hack second guesses his audience is condescension to heaven. It's blasphemy and sacrilege. Instead, let's ask ourselves, like that new mother, what do I feel growing inside me? Let me bring that forth, if I can, for its own sake and not for what it can do for me or how it can advance my standing. Good morning, John. Let's see. All right, so let's see what this article is here. So on to the main topic. Sable says that's a fantastic chapter. Now, please do hit the like button if you're here. Maybe, like I said, maybe there are lonely people who need connection and community sitting on YouTube right now who would love to be a part of this conversation and don't even know it's happening. So please do hit the like button so they will know. So this says, Pathfinder stripped every last trace of D&D from its new rulebooks, even owlbears. Say goodbye to true neutral alignments, ability scores, and more. When proposed changes to the Dungeons & Dragons open gaming license leaked in January, Paizo chief creative officer and publisher Eric Mona said the news drove a stake through the heart of the company's release schedule for all of 2023. Paizo had already been moving away from its dependency on the OGL through the release of Pathfinder 2nd Edition, but Wizards of the Coast had shaken the bedrock assumptions that had driven Paizo's business model for more than a decade. Avoiding future legal conflict was going to require more than just some errata documents. We decided we really need to take another crack at republishing the core rules, which we started pretty much right away, Mona told Polygon in a recent interview. Within a couple of weeks, the OGL crisis happening, we started 2 projects. One was the Pathfinder Remaster project, which would align the rules away from the OGL derivatives, and the other was a new open gaming framework. On November 15th, Paizo released the first books based on that work, the remastered Pathfinder Player Core and Pathfinder GM Core. While the bedrock of Pathfinder 2e remains intact, developers pored over all the rules to remove the chance of future licensing conflicts with Wizards. That meant changing names of everything from mechanics like swapping 3.5 edition's D&D flat-footed condition to off guard, to changing the name of D&D specific fictional languages. like the fire elemental's native tongue known as Ignan, which Pathfinder now calls Pyrrhic. Excuse me. Even character ancestries, like Tiefling and Celestial, had to be rolled into a new bucket called Nephilim, a catch-all for characters touched by other planes. I don't know if there's anything protectable about mushing an owl and a bear together and calling it an owl bear, but that's clearly a monster that D&D puts a lot of cachet behind, Mona said. We're going a little bit further to make the distance between Pathfinder and D&D even more clear. The reassessment also offered an opportunity for new creativity. Mona said that over Paizo's 15-year history, the publisher had largely stuck to D&D's model of chromatic and metallic dragons due to nostalgia, but not providing much extra development for one of the most iconic monsters in all of fantasy. Now we're going through and reinventing a whole bunch of new dragons that tie into the rules of Pathfinder, and that each dragon is connected to one of the sources of magic, arcane, divine, occult, or primal, Mona said. As we continue to write adventures, they'll become much more important part of the Pathfinder brand. Even though Wizards abandoned its attempt to alter the OGL and place the game's rules in the Creative Commons, Mona said Paizo couldn't ignore the threat to its business model. The problem is that it's an erosion of trust at the top level, he said. They caught themselves in an internet outcry and backpedaled almost right away, but who's to say they won't try again next year or the year after that? We have another 7 rule books and another couple of $1 million put into the game. All of a sudden, we're right back to where we were. Instead, Paizo has created its own alternative to the OGL called the Open RPG Creative License, the ORC, which we have been going over in detail and will be finishing today. The company doesn't actually control the license, so it can never be updated or revised. Now, the question is it a good license? Hey, Andrew. Hey, Andrew. Good morning. And good morning, Brett. Good morning. And Brett. Good morning. Good morning. Happy almost Thanksgiving. I wanted to create an environment for greater collaboration, inspiration, and innovation, and give publishers peace of mind that the rug is not going to be pulled out from under them, Mona said. We got the input of more than 1,000 publishers that gave us tremendous amount of insight into what was important to them. And that still seems weird that what we ended up with was the orc. The remastered Pathfinder core rulebooks redefine several key elements of D&D. Alignment has been replaced with edicts and anathema that represents a character's personal philosophy and code of conduct. Alignment is in some ways so culturally ubiquitous that I wonder if it's even a protectable thing at this point, but it's a pretty simplistic way of summarizing how people actually interact with what their belief systems are, Mona said. Every year that goes by, it feels a little more dated. We're trying to create a game that's of the moment and appeals to modern players and gamers. The ability score numbers originally devised by rolling 6-sided dice have been stripped away and replaced with attributes of -5 to +5, the modifiers commonly used in D&D. It's a rule change first used in the Pathfinder beginner box to make the game more accessible. Why have complexities that add nothing to the system? Mona asked. Revising the book also gave Paizo the opportunity to address criticisms of Pathfinder 2e. The intimidating 640-page Pathfinder 2e core rulebook was split into a version for players and one for game masters, and the character sheet was updated based on feedback that looked a little bit like a tax form. Only half of the 16 classes published in the Pathfinder 2e core rulebook were released this week, with more complex player options reserved for a second player book that will launch at Gen Con in 2024. We had an opportunity starting in January with a lot of players saying, I don't want to play D&D anymore. I want to find a different game, Mona said. We want to try to make that game as easy to understand, as inviting as possible. So I was thinking about this. I mean, obviously there was a lot that was going on, and Paizo and Pathfinder got a lot of goodwill. Pathfinder books were selling out. Paizo wanted to capitalize on everybody going over to Pathfinder. And they certainly could have done it. They certainly could have done it, I think. But it seems like the way we're going with this ORC license, that if their intention was, which it seems like it was their intention, if their intention was to make sure that all of Pathfinder 2nd Edition with this remastered rule books are completely divorced from the OGL, divested of all vestiges of anything that may have been in the OGL, and to put a new stake in the ground and say, listen, just like we all used to use the D&D 5e SRD, if you're tired of that, hey, look, here is Pathfinder 2nd Edition, which in general we tended to like here on this channel. we've looked at Pathfinder a fair amount over here on this channel, especially in the days after the OGL debacle, like many people. And I think in general around here, people tended to like the system. And a lot of people were saying if I were to start a new game today, it would probably be Pathfinder. But if they intended to put this stake in the ground, I mean, the rules can be fantastic. The rules can be fantastic. But if you're trying to actually do what Wizards did with the OGL back with Ryan Dancy and say, hey, this is a new flag in the ground, everybody rally here. I don't think they're going to be able to do it with the ORC license. I don't think that the ORC license is going to be something that people flock to. I really don't. So it doesn't, if the Pathfinder rules are good enough, then okay, you're going to have to take whatever kind of license you want if you want to use those. Like if it's really important to you to be able to use the Pathfinder 2e rules, then you'll accept whatever license I suppose they're offering. But as we've come up with, there are so many ambiguities in this license that, and it's also grabby. That's the term that people are using. It's very grabby. It's making you put a lot of stuff into open material. I don't see the ORC license creating the type of ecosystem around the new Pathfinder remastered rules that was created around Dungeons and Dragons with the release of the OGL. I just don't see that happening. I don't think that companies, for one reason, it looks like companies can't really create value with it. And that needed to be the case if you're going to be doing that. So I don't know. I guess we'll see, but that's my feeling right now. Stray gifted a membership. Thank you so much, Stray. Who got the membership? Who got it? Who does it say who got it? Oh, it says Dungeon Master was gifted a membership by Stray. So Dungeon Master, thank you, Stray. Stray gifted a membership and Dungeon Master got it. Thank you, thank you, Stray, and welcome, Dungeon Master. And actually, I'm going to send out something. I wanted to send out some stuff to the Trial of St. Gabriel to the channel members. So perfect timing. Zero the Blade says, thank you, Stray. Zero the Blade says, what I find odd is why would WotC try to deauthorize the OGL when the SRD can be deauthorized and then the OGL will be nothing? Can you deauthorize the SRD? I'm not sure if you can do that. Because if the whole point, if you put something out under an open license, you can't take that back. If I publish something under an open license, if I've got an open license right here and I publish something under an open license, I can't take that back. Good morning, Micah. Glad Micah's here. Micah's got a lot of insight into this. Robert says, so that's the key where what is it that fans really want? Everyone bought Pathfinder books that now won't be supported. I mean, maybe. I mean, it depends on, I guess, how different it is. I mean, can I not play Pathfinder 2nd edition with the books I've got sitting over here? I suppose that is the cynical way to look at it, that, hey, they did give away a whole bunch of books to now create a revised version. So people will come in and buy the new books. I suppose that's a cynical way to look at it. Brent says, hi, James and Stray and others. Good to see everybody. Oh, Stray for $10. Thank you, Stray. Stray says, wait, what is that? What is that? Izzy Heath on an organized charm? I don't know what that means. IS''Y? Oh, lots of stuff going on in the comments. I'm not sure what that means, Stray. I'm sorry. John says, I think Wizards eventually put the SRD in Creative Commons. Must have thrown a very unexpected wrench in Paizo's gears. Well, it may have. I mean, here he says that can they try again next year? Well, if it's just concern about what is in the 5th edition, if it's just a 5th edition SRD, I would think that's locked down now. Whether or not it's the OGL or whatever, it seems like Wizards retreated from that. They went ahead and went Creative Commons license. I mean, Paizo is Paizo, but it seems like you can use the 5th edition now. The Wizards retreated from that and made it so that everybody seems to agree on that. But Paizo doesn't want to do anything like that. But Paizo might not want to do that because it wants to establish its own flag. It's like now it's time to really try to drive home, I guess, a nail in the coffin of D&D. But I think they mismatched with this, that they're not going to do it with this license. Good morning, Jason. Sable says, I'm actually kind of glad I got all the core Pathfinder 2e core books before they updated the remastered edition. Micah says, unfortunately, there are enough small creators who don't have the money to pay a lawyer to read the ORC license in detail, nor have the experience to understand it, plus fanatics pushing it. Yeah, getting the core books here. Micah says, there were a lot more people who wanted more than what the ORC license ended up being, but some wanted fixes, others wanted to grab even more. The majority were silent, and plenty of fanatics. John says it gave the whole D&D community exactly what we wanted in terms of protection for third-party content for 5e. So if that was the battle, then that was won. Micah says the OGL, while active, meant a product in it couldn't be taken back. It could no longer be carried forward to any new products if they wanted, but not disallowed for those under it. Yeah, that you can't just take away something that's licensed under an open license. Okay, let's go over it. Let's take this down so I can bring up the license again. Hopefully we can get finished here. Like I said, other things going on today anyway, especially with the holidays coming up. ORC license final. Here we go. We had just gotten to the point on required notices. And, you know, so it does sound, so Sable's talking about the fanatics and not Sable. Micah is actually talking about fanatics here who wanted even more. I mean, I can't, it would seem crazy to me to say that people wanted a license that took even more from you. I mean, then you're talking about the worlds, the characters, all of that. I mean, that seems kind of crazy. Because I was thinking, again, this is the viral license, and it depends on, and this is a particular philosophy regarding viral licenses as well. Like, for instance, what if I really like, I'm going to create a new role-playing game core book, and of course I've got chapters in it like role-playing books often do. And what if I really, really like the combat system, as an example, of an ORC licensed product? It doesn't have to be Pathfinder. It could be Pathfinder, but it could be any product whose company has chosen to license it under the ORC. So if I say, man, this combat system is fantastic. I want this in my RPG. And look, the company licensed it under ORC. Fantastic. So I'm going to basically directly import the combat system into my RPG. So when you read, go to the section on combat or the chapter on combat, you're basically going to see this ORC licensed combat system that another company put out. But maybe that was the only thing that I really liked about that system, that I was like, man, that was fantastic. But the way I've got a completely new way to generate characters. I've got a much better way to generate characters. And I've got a much better way to adjudicate magic and put new magic in there. And I've got a much better way to talk about overland travel. So, I mean, so let's say we got those different chapters in there: character creation, combat, magic, and overland travel. And everything but the chapter on combat is completely written by me. It's completely new. I just imported one chapter from other people's ORC work. According to one theory or one philosophy of virality, that therefore that chapter, whether I copied it directly or if I modified it, maybe I did modify it. Maybe it was like, man, this is a fantastic combat system. It's 90% of the way there or 80% of the way there. I'm going to tweak it for 10 or 20%. Even if I tweak it 10 or 20%, that chapter, that material that I modified becomes open and must be viral. That's a much more restrictive philosophical thinking on virality. Like if I wrote my chapter on character creation whole cloth, I'm not sure why importing the section on combat would cause my section on wilderness travel and character creation to all of a sudden become open. But ORC does that. ORC does that. And that's why I don't think people are going to be willing to use that. Like major publishers and things, if they're trying to create a third party, like major ecosystem around Pathfinder with lots of successful third party companies, I don't think they'll take that. They might have taken that, therefore, the combat section, the chapter will become open. That's so it is a much more extreme version of being philosophically dedicated to virality in open licenses. If you say, therefore, since this one chapter over here or this one section was used open ORC content, therefore everything else in your entire book that you wrote that is licensable material according to this license automatically goes out the door. It was crazy. Again, only some wanted to have the right to force licensors to give up more than mechanics, but ambiguities help those individuals. The majority of the fanatics just wanted the ORC license to be the license for the community and ignored any flaws, shooting down discussions of them with, well, then you don't want open gaming, as well as insulting those who pointed out issues, even if they were proposing fixes. As the ORC license is, you can take anything that is licensed material exactly as is without adding anything to it. Hence, race to the bottom, as you said, in the last live stream, with regard to compilations. And that's what I was talking about. It's not really allowing third-party publishers to step up, become viable commercially, and build an ecosystem around Pathfinder 2nd Edition. I mean, I'm now skeptical of it, like, because I thought, hey, do I want to put out a Pathfinder version of like the Rabavania or the Theophany little world primer and do that under ORC? Now I'm thinking I would not. Like, my thinking now is that I should not do that. Now it looks like, my understanding would be that I would still be able to put out a Pathfinder 2nd Edition version of Rabavania or Theophany World Primer if I wanted to, but what I would do is I would do that using the OGL, because I've got a book right here that's licensed using the OGL. You know, it's got the license in it, so all of that material is licensed by the OGL. I do not think I would put the ORC license in the back. I don't think I would license it under ORC after having gone through this. I don't think I would. I'm not against compilations, but that doesn't add value to the market or community. It just lowers the desire of people to work on the license, to work with the license if someone else is going to bulk sell and undercut. Okay, so attribution notice, part 3 here, or article 3, I guess. Required notice. The grant of this ORC license to you is expressly conditioned on you including the notice statements described in subsections A through D below in a reasonable manner based on medium, means, and in context in which you used the licensed material. ORC notice. The following statement designating the location and terms of the ORC license. So you must say, the ORC notice. This product is licensed under the ORC license located at the Library of Congress at TX 9307067 and available online at various locations. All warranties are disclaimed as set forth therein. So you don't have to duplicate the ORC in your work. And the ORC, remember the ORC, somebody asked, like, now what do I need to do in order to protect my RPG stuff? If you just write it, it's copyright. This ORC has nothing to do with you unless you're trying to do one of two things. ORC has nothing to do with you unless, one, you or created something that you want to open up to other people and you want to specify what you're giving up. One option to do that would be to look at the ORC. If it fits your purposes, use the ORC as an open license, if you're okay with everything that's in it, to give away your stuff. Likewise, If you're not trying to do that, the only other reason you'd have to worry about ORC is if you wanted to use ORC licensed material. Then you'd have to worry about it. Otherwise, it's not relevant. But we wanted the idea, I think we as a general sense, wanted this to be a fantastic license that's another, that's learned all the lessons of the OGL, made it even better, improved it, is a fantastic license that creates value around the products that's licensed, and with the Pathfinder 2nd edition rules that we all liked, licensed under it, create this new ecosystem of games for Pathfinder 2nd edition in the same way that the OGL had done for Dungeons and Dragons, and kind of make it a new era. But I don't think that's going to happen. We will see, but I don't think it's going to happen. B, attribution notice. A statement based on reasonable, good faith efforts that identifies each licensure or creator of the licensed material you used and any others designated to receive attribution, including all upstream licensors of licensed materials upon which your adapted licensed material is based or derived from, worded in any accurate and reasonable manner so requested by such parties. Such credit may be named, anonymous, or a reasonable pseudonym. For the avoidance of doubt, both licensor and all parties similarly credited under the licensor's attribution notice should be included in your attribution notice unless otherwise reasonably indicated by such parties. So you have to give credit. So this is like the attribution buy. It's like the buy part of a CC buy. You have to give credit and attribution to anyone who authored work that you are licensing or work that is upstream of one that you are licensing. A statement indicating how you wish to be reasonably credited with respect to the adapted licensed material licensed by you under this ORC license, including anonymously or by pseudonym if designated. Licensors and creators may update their name, anonymity designation, or pseudonym from time to time by notice to you and other known licensees hereunder. However, such changes shall in no event require you to halt distribution of any works you have produced or destroy any produced works or works in progress, but shall merely require you to use good faith efforts to implement the requested changes on a going forward basis. I don't think all of this was in there the first time we looked at the draft here, because I was noticing this with Elf too. All of a sudden, the attribution does get kind of complicated. Like if I upload, it's not even something that's trivial necessarily to upload a new version to a digital storehouse, something like Drive-Thru RPG. Obviously, it's a lot easier than having to destroy physical products and things like that. But I would say that, like, well, just because you notify me that you're changing the way you wish to be credited doesn't mean that I have to go create a new edition of any digital book too. I would have wanted that clear. That like, oh, I changed my name, so go update go update all of your files and produce new editions of all of your works on Drive-Thru RPG that have, the old name in it. Create a new edition and upload all the new files and all the layout and all that, and re-upload all that. I would say no, that's also not something that's reasonable. This is very focused on physical book destruction, which is definitely important. But also, I would say, yeah, okay, so you let me know. So, okay, in good faith, the next time I do another edition of that work, then I'll update it. But I'm not going to go back and update all of my digital files just because you tell me you've decided to change the way you want to be credited. Like, not happening. Like, I might not even have those digital files. You really actually might not. I mean, many people would, especially if it's a company in preserve, but you might not. I mean, things happen. Like, I don't even have those layout files anymore for that book. I can't make another one. Let's go over here. Now, the Elf license doesn't force you to add value either, but you can't just copy anything you want. Only what someone doesn't care about being given up and declared. Right. Yes, that's very important. That the ORC license is taking things. That's why they call it a grabby license. It is forcing you to give up things automatically when you apply it. The Elf license, the idea there is that nothing is given up automatically, only things that you specifically say are okay. Micah says, well, if you write it, it's copyright, but at least in the U.S., you can't sue for more than cease and desist unless you register your copyright in most jurisdictions. Yes, if you write something that it is copyrighted by you. But my point was that if you're writing your own RPG and you want to protect it, do you have to deal with the ORC or any kind of open licensing at all? No. You do not. Sable says it's not for that. That's not its purpose. Sable Phoenix says, sadly, ORC has fallen short of that. The Elf license looks like it'll fit that a lot better. Now, the question is, what kind of game are you going to be able to license with Elf? That's who's going to actually make that something that you can do. Same goes for trademarks, Micah says. In fact, that you have one if your business is an image, trade dress, or name, etc., but you can't sue for damages without registration, which is what I did for Farid and have to renew it by October of next year. Well, we'll see. We'll take a look. Maybe that's Friday because there'll be no morning grind tomorrow. That's Thanksgiving. So Friday we may look at Elf. So Micah says next section, last sentence is a killer clause poison pill. See, we're talking about here reserved material notice. A statement based on reasonable good faith efforts that identifies the elements of your reserved material, if any, contained in the derivative work in which you use the licensed material. For avoidance of doubt, such designation neither limits your rights in your reserved material nor limits any downstream licensee's use of the adapted licensed material. In the event of a conflict between your designation of reserved material and the definition of licensed material, the definition shall control. I think this is what you're talking about, right, Micah? Yeah, this is also huge. This is why this is such a grabby license, because it tells you, and this is this is I think completely backwards from the way that it should be, because this says I've got to make a statement. James says yikes. Micah says, I mean, the Elf license also has the update bit for new names, but reasonable and better written than how the ORC licensed. I say I'd want to talk to Roll of Law about that, because I'd want to be clear about you don't have to update digital copies either. But reserved material notice, right? So you have to write down in your product a statement about what it is that's actually yours, which should be, your characters, your worlds, all of that. And you have to write that down. Because remember, this license by default is going to take things from you. And you have to make a statement based on reasonable good faith efforts identifying that material. But in the event of a conflict between what you write down and the definition of licensed material, which we said is very vague and ambiguous, the definition shall control, which takes it from you. Why would you use this license? I mean, realize that some people, in some circumstances, this may be perfect. But, and remember, this is supposed to prevent you from needing an SRD. It's supposed to prevent you from needing a lawyer, and it's supposed to prevent you from needing an SRD. You do need a lawyer if you're going to be using this. And it seems like the best way to use this is to have an SRD. I mean, if you want to agree to these terms, this is fine, but then just make sure that everything in this work that you're putting out, like this SRD, is completely yours. It's completely yours and completely okay with being open. That you own it as is completely yours, and you are deliberately opening it up. Because there is no way, with all of this ambiguity in all of this, I mean, this should be flipped. It should say, in the event of a conflict, your designation of reserved material and the licensed material, your reserved material statement can control. Now, I know why they don't do that. I think I know why they don't do that, because they're trying to prevent you from making something that is licensed material reserved. And if it were more clear, maybe, but being that it's unclear and that if there is some kind of conflict, that's the kind of thing that is, causes legal problems. That seems like the kind of thing that would cause a legal problem, because, hey, I'm using X. Yeah, but I specifically said that was reserved. Yeah, but according to this definition, I've got an argument why it's, licensed material, and my definition, then the definition supervenes. So you have to do it. Yeah, it's, Nope. Okay. Micah says every single draft, all three, I pushed for that to be better written. James says I would watch the heck out of an Ian Runkle special guest spot on the Geekverse, morning grind, table talk, whatever. Just get him on over here. All right. Well, we'll see. Especially after we want to look at I want to look at the Elf first, and that way also everybody who's watching the morning grind can look at Elf, and we have the material and the information to have a really good and intelligent conversation with him. If the definition wasn't ambiguous, I'd understand the sentence being there, but it isn't. Yeah, I agree with this. It should be more in the event your designation shall remain, except where mechanical. In the event your designation shall remain, except where mechanical in context. Yeah, it's this statement in conjunction with a bunch of ambiguity of our definitions that. You use the poison pill. Yeah, it's Micah says Robert says get Micah in there. He's got a lot to say. Expressly designated licensed material, a statement that identifies any element of your content that would otherwise constitute reserved material contained in your derivative work that you agree to offer to prospective licensees under the ORC license as licensed material pursuant to sections 1E above. So if there's something that would otherwise be reserved, but you want to put it out there, you can by using a statement. Sample notice. By way of an example only, the following notice would comply with the requirements of the ORC license. So ORC notice would say this product is licensed. So this would be like what was in the front of the book. I mean, I guess it's the back of the book too, but this would be in the book. ORC notice. This product is licensed under the ORC license located at the Library of Congress at TX 9307067 and available online at various locations, including possible domain names may be inserted and others. All warranties are disclaimed as set forth herein. Attribution. This product is based off the following licensed material: title of work, copyright notice, author credit information, title of additional work, copyright notice, author credit information, etc. If you use our licensed material in your own published works, please credit us as follows: title of work, copyright notice, your author credit information. Reserved material. The reserved material element of this product includes, but may not be limited to, the skeleton crew, the horrible nation Farunielia, the order of ossuaries and edgelords, and all elements designated as reserved material under the ORC license. Designated as reserved material. Expressly designated material says the following elements are owned by the licensor and would otherwise constitute reserved material and are hereby designated as licensed material: the bardic order of the singing skull and associated characters, locations, and titles. Okay. 4. Let's go over here. Hey, TSL frontman. Micah says, the problem with getting me in is that I work retail. I work overnight Thanksgiving night through Black Friday opening, so a bit tired for more than text on Friday and Saturday, Sunday or Monday, maybe. What I'm trying to do with table, he could come on the morning grind. I'd like to have him on Table Talk. And Table Talk, I've been trying to do live on Tuesdays and Thursday nights at 7 p.m. Friday will be just us looking at the elf. I'll just be here looking at the elf because I want to look at the elf with all of you guys before we talk to him. So that way we know what the elf is. We can let him know that we're doing it. He might want to be in the comments section, but then have him later. Okay, so warranty and limitation of liability. Successor warrants, represents, acknowledges, and agrees that upon publication of required notice in a licensor work, licensor may not hereafter withdraw, modify, or revoke such an offer to license the licensed material hereunder as to an existing licensee or any prospective licensee, and licensor's offer to license such licensed material is irrevocable. Licensor licenses the licensed licensor licenses the licensed material as is and as available, and makes no representation or warranties of any kind concerning the licensed material, whether expressed, implied, statutory, or other. This includes, without limitation, warranties of title, merchantability, fitness for a particular purpose, non-infringement, absence of latent or other defects, accuracy, or the presence or absence of errors, whether or not known or discoverable. Where disclaimers or warranties are not allowed in full or in part, this disclaimer may not apply to you. To the extent possible, in no event will the licensor be liable to you on any legal theory, including without limitation, negligence, or otherwise, for any direct, special, indirect, incidental, consequential, punitive, exemplary, or other losses, costs, expenses, or damages arising out of this ORC license or use of the licensed material, even if the licensor has been advised of the possibility of such losses, costs, expenses, or damages. Where a limitation of liability is not allowed in full or in part, this limitation may not apply to you. The disclaimer of warranties and limitation of liabilities provided above shall be interpreted in a manner that, to the extent possible, most closely approximates an absolute disclaimer and warranty of a waiver of liability. Hang tough, yes. TSL Frumman wanted to say, I loved the genre discussion last night, and everyone should check it out after hitting the like. Oh, thank you. So that's another recommendation for last night's stream. I loved last night's conversation. Last night's conversation, by the way, it's over there. I'll post the link since it was brought up here. So if you're just tuning in, that's now over on the dedicated Table Talk channel. We're just talking about having Ian Runkle on Table Talk. So that's the dedicated Table Talk channel. And yes, that was a fantastic discussion on the philosophy of story, genre, and specifically the horror genre. It's the Truby discussion, the anatomy of genre by, and that's a book by John Truby. Oh, I put the book someplace else. Oh, it's right here. It was our discussion of this book right here. Oh, James read it. The elf actually provides protections and is extremely reasonable. I read it yesterday. That so we can be in on the conversation here. You're already at 97% of 50K. I completely blew NaNoWriMo again. I was thinking about that yesterday. I completely blew it. Okay, number 5. I think we're coming to, this is close to the end here. Okay. 5, other terms and conditions, termination and remedies. Your license to use the licensed material will terminate automatically if you fail to comply with the terms and conditions of this ORC license. Your license will be reinstated effective as of the date of termination if you cure such a violation on a going forward basis without the obligation to destroy inventory on hand within 60 days of your discovery of the violation, or if licensor waives such violation in writing. No such termination shall affect, limit, or disrupt your rights of any licensor or downstream licensee or any licensed material under any ORC license. Only the licensor and licensor and licensors, upstream licensors under this ORC license, which you may deem to be in privity herewith, may bring enforcement action against you hereunder. This constitutes a limitation on the licensor remedies with respect to the license grant and the licensed material hereunder. However, this ORC license neither limits licensors' remedies in any way with respect to the licensor's reserved material, nor does it limit licensors' right to offer the licensed material or reserved material under separate terms and conditions. Do we have any kind of problem with that? Saying that somebody else can't say that you're in violation. It's just the people who you are licensing material from. And that no limit on your response to remedies on the licensed material impacts your reserved material if you can figure out what it is. Yeah. Micah says, yeah, that clause is fine to make, and it's similar to the ELF license because it makes sense. Yeah, that's what I thought. Modifications. This ORC license may not be amended, superseded, modified, updated, repealed, revoked, or deauthorized. Neither you nor the licensor may modify the terms of this ORC license. However, you may enter into a separate agreement of your own, making provided such agreement does not seek to modify the terms hereof. This ORC license does not and shall not be interpreted to reduce, limit, restrict, or impose conditions or any use of the licensed material that could lawfully be made without the permission of this ORC license. That also seems to make sense to me. Construction. C. This ORC license is published simultaneously with an answers and explanations document, AX, that is filled under the same U.S. copyright registration as is this ORC license. One purpose of the AX is to provide a general indication of the drafter's intentions, which we said they even muddied the waters, in interpreting the ORC license, and in the event of a dispute, the axe is intended to be admissible to and used in the adjudicating body for such a purpose. The ORC license may be translated into other languages. You and licensor acknowledge and agree that if there is any conflict between this ORC license, the axe, and such translated version, the terms of the English language ORC license registered by Azora Law, PLLC, with the U.S. Copyright Office shall control. So, yeah. So, like, when we're talking about the difference between, like, mechanics in narrative games, they say in the axe that that is your reserved property. The license appears to say that it is licensable material, and it's telling you that, hey, this license controls. To the extent possible, if any provision of the ORC license is deemed unenforceable by a court of law, it shall automatically reform to the minimum extent necessary to make it enforceable on a case-by-case basis. If such provision cannot be reformed, it shall be severed from this ORC license without affecting the enforceability of the remaining terms and conditions. No term or condition of this ORC license will be waived, and no failure to comply consented to unless expressly agreed by the licensor. Nothing in this ORC license constitutes or may be interpreted as a limitation upon or waiver of any privileges and immunities that apply to the licensor or you, including from legal processes of any jurisdiction or authority. Micah says, same for this one, except it says you can't modify, but can accept a secondary additional license, which means it could work with the infinite license, if not phrased for OGL use only. That was what brought all this up to our attention. It was like, wait a minute, Paizo has gone to all this trouble to get the ORC, but is not using it in conjunction with the Infinite, Starfinder Infinite, and Starfinder Pathfinder. Although seemingly it would be ideal for the purpose. Like the purpose of it would seem to be something that you would use this for. It seems to be engineered to handle that. If they're not doing that, why? We don't know. Maybe, possibly, it's because this didn't end up being a great license. So the same material has to be available, Pathfinder SRD essentially, to anyone under the ORC license. But a platform or additional material can have restrictions, just that you can't limit what is under the ORC license itself. Yeah, I wish I knew more of their thinking there. Maybe we get somebody to talk about it sometime. Okay, so that did get us all the way through the ORC. So now we know. Now we know. Deep dives on Table Talk, deep dives here on the Morning Grind. So now we know. So we have now been through this license. We know it. We understand our issues with it. Nobody can say we didn't read it and take a look at it. So we have an informed opinion now. All right. So no morning grind. Like I said, no morning grind tomorrow because it's Thanksgiving. So I'll be away with family. No morning grind tomorrow. Possible. Look in the Discord server this afternoon if we're going to do a replay, a re-airing of a Table Talk on the new Table Talk channel tomorrow night. We'll see. I'll post that in the Discord if it's there. But otherwise, Friday looks like we will take a look at the elf here on the Morning Grind and see what is in it, possibly in preparation for talking to Ian on a Table Talk later. Let's see. On to the elf. So Michael does say before we go, the problem with the third-party license clause, which has a contradiction. The problem is with the third-party license clause, which has a contradiction, and they are a licensor who would also own the Pathfinder SRD. Okay. All right. Please do hit the like button. I will see everybody on Friday. Have a wonderful day. Go be creative, be constructive, and grind on.